Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about tips for speed for your medical coding exam. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, now if you are taking the American Health Information Management Association's CCS, CCA, or CCSP, or if you are taking the American Academy of Professional Coders CPC exam, this video is for you. So let us begin. All right. Tips for speed. All right. Everybody knows that all medical coding certification exams are timed. This is something that you have to know right out of the gate. Now, with the AHIMA exams, we don't have a set number of questions. There's always a range, and you can look at the AHIMA website to know what the range is for the particular certification exam that you're going to be looking at. With AAPC, they recently, and as of January 1, they converted over to less questions, okay, but less time. So the CPC exam is 4 hours. So that's 25 questions per hour because it's 100 questions now. So the thing is, you have timed exams, right? The CCS and the CCSP are both 4-hour exams. The CCA is a 2-hour exam. So knowing this information going in, you should all be aware of how much time you have per question. Now, AAPC, you have 2 minutes, 40 seconds per question. With the AHIMA exams, let's just make it roughly 2 minutes per question, okay? Give or take, all right? And I say that again because we're looking at basically the range and then basically the time that you have. So, kind of count on like 2 minutes per question. Now, yes, you're going to have to read this fast. Yes, you're going to have to make a decision this quickly. Some questions, whether you're taking AHIMA or AAPC, some questions obviously you're going to be able to look at and see, okay, yeah, I know this question, I know this answer, and you're going to be able to answer it right away. And that time you saved yourself obviously can go towards other questions that are going to be a lot more complex. But keep this in mind. With the AHIMA exams, you cannot flag the questions. You cannot go back. You can only answer the question and then you can move on. There is no flagging of any of the questions. So that is something that you got to keep in mind. So not only do we have the time that we have to consider, but we also have to have that also on our head that, okay, I cannot move forward until I answer this question. My recommendation to you is if you absolutely have no clue on how to answer this one particular question, look at your available answers and choose the best and move on. That is with the AHIMA or AAPC. You always want to give yourself the best opportunity to pass, so you need to be able to answer all of these questions. Now, I have been able to take all 3 certification exams. I passed all 3 of them on the first try. And the thing that I did, the thing that helped me was, when I was studying, right, I knew where I needed to study the topics that I needed to work on the most. I'm not going to let those scare me during the time that I'm studying, right? Because by the time I get to my certification exam, I want to be prepared. And so hopefully that's where you are, so that you're not depending on process of elimination. People have asked me, does this help with speed? Does it help with time? No, it doesn't, because you still have to kind of like reason out what you have available and what you think and what you know. All right. So no, it doesn't always help, but it will get you through if you are absolutely stuck and you have no idea. Okay. So that is something that you need to kind of keep in mind. Don't get hung up on a question. One question and losing the entire certification exam because you got hung up on one question is not a good thing, guys. You have to accept it and move on. If you feel like you absolutely don't know, it's okay. You are allowed to miss a few, but only within a certain range. So just keep that in mind. And that's why I say by the time you go for your certification exam, hopefully you've been preparing yourself the entire time. But that's something to know when you're in there, all right? You got to keep moving and don't let anything slow you down. Some people have told me, well, Blue, when I took the Pearson VUE test, when I went to Pearson VUE to take my test, there was people coming in and out. Guys, you got to be laser focused, okay? And so that's something that you need to be aware of. When you are in there, it's you and that test. And you can't let anything get in your way. Because the second you get derailed because of you heard something, or you're kind of working in a small space and you're not used to working in a small space, don't let things like that derail you. It's the little things they're gonna be there. I mean, whether you like it or not, whether any of us likes it or not, there's gonna be those little things, but that shouldn't stop you from meeting your goal. If you have to stack your books because you're working in a smaller space, maybe your desk space isn't as big, it's okay. Just kind of off-center your books so that you don't get them tangled up in each other, with the spirals. So that's just my advice there when you're doing that. Keep a watch on, or keep an eye on the clock, okay? When you're taking these exams, how much time you have. The CCS and the CCA is, the CCS and CCSP is a 4-hour exam. So you've got 2 sections to get through. You can do the math, guys. But you do need to give yourself a red line of how much time you want to spend, so that way you're making sure that you're making good timing throughout. With AAPC, I have heard that if you're taking the exam in person, that there's the proctor up there and they'll tell you if you got 10 minutes left, or if you got 5 minutes left, or whatever. And so some people will say, well, I got hung up on one, so I just started guessing on the last ones. That's not good. You need to be pacing yourself well enough that you're going to get through majority of those by the time that you need to get through with them. I had 8 minutes left on the clock when I got done with the CCS exam, because it's a beast. And it was something that took all of my time. So that's the thing that I want you guys to be aware of. When you are in these exams, just get through the exam. Get through the exam. Don't get hung up on one, because it's not worth it. If you're having to rush at the last minute and guess, that's no way to get your certification either, okay? So something that, just think about it, I tell people to make sure that you've had a good breakfast before. Just something to eat, just something light in your stomach is fine. Don't drink like caffeine or anything that's going to make you too jittery. Or if you have to have caffeine, drink just enough just to kind of get that, okay, I got caffeine. And then that way you can take your exam. The more you get wound up and worried about the exam, and a lot of times people already have the knowledge as it is, but they get themselves so wound up about worrying about not passing, and worrying about messing up, and worrying about, how many times I have to go to the bathroom. Guys, you're not even thinking about the bathroom when you're in that exam. Oh no, you are not thinking about that bathroom. You are thinking about, I got to get through this exam. That's what you're thinking about, okay? And don't waste your time thinking about little things like that, because trust me, it's not, with AHIMA, if you do take a bathroom break, of course you have to, raise your hand and stuff like that, wait for the Pearson VUE people to come in and get you, because you can't just stand up on your own. But it will count against your time. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you absolutely have to go, that's just something to know. I'm not sure how it goes with AAPC, but, again, you guys can reach out and contact AAPC if you have those particular questions on that kind of thing. But again, you're not going to be concerned about all that. You're going to be more concerned about that exam and getting through that exam as quickly as possible. So that's the goal anyway. And let's see, don't get hung up on questions that you're going to, everybody has that one nemesis, of their training that they didn't really get. And so it depends if it's going to come up on your exam. Every exam is different. At least for AHIMA, they are, so nobody has the same exams. So, and that protects the integrity of the exams, which I think is great, Let's see. Go with your first gut instinct, because your first gut instinct is always the right one. It's always the right choice. Because the more you sit there and spin your wheels, again, it's not worth it to sacrifice your entire exam for one stupid question. And yeah, I said it, it's one stupid question. Because it's always going to be that one, right? But, you know, no need to do that. You guys have had the time to study. And even if you feel like, well, maybe I'm not ready and maybe this and maybe that, you never know until you give yourself that chance to prove yourself, okay? Don't go in there with that attitude thinking, well, if I fail, it's okay, I can take it again. No, go in there with the attitude of, I have studied, I have done what I'm supposed to do, now I'm going to get in there and show them that I can do this, okay? All those months of studying, yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. And to close this video out, whenever you're taking an exam, this is, just think of it as a review of everything that you've previously gone over. This stuff is not going to be brand new to you. It's not going to be like you're coming in day one on medical coding school, okay? This is literally a review of everything. And if you've heard anything that I've said in any of my videos, the fastest way to get faster with the book is to get familiar with the book. And that by opening your book and flipping each and every single page so that you know where all of what your appendixes are covering, where all of your anatomy plates are in your book, what information the book has, because the book already has the answers. You just have to know how to use the book. And so if you've cluttered your book with writing, I don't recommend that, because if you're taking an AHIMA exam, excessive writing will make your books invalid for use during the exam. You cannot have handmade tabs if you are taking an AHIMA exam. You can only use the tabs that came with the book. Now, the only demonstration that I've done is the one for the CPT, a professional edition by the AMA, which is the one we all have to use. But I have done the demonstration there on how to tab that book, even though I don't recommend tabbing the books at all, because if you're using your books, the tabs are just going to get in your way. I have never had tabs on my books when taking an exam. And I've been that way since the very beginning, since I took my CCA, because back then AHIMA was very strict and they did not allow for tabs at all. And now they said, you know, they've updated it and they've said, well, you know, if the tabs came with a book, then you can use them. So it's up to you guys. However, I do not recommend it because I feel like if you know your book, you're not going to need those tabs. Okay, so that's just my advice anyway. Take it or leave it. But getting familiar with those books is going to go a long way to making you fast. If you are still studying right now, work on your speed. That is the number one thing that I can always recommend, is work on your speed, because it's not going to mean a hill of beans if you memorized all of these details if you can't get through that book quickly. I'm just saying. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Best of luck to you all if you are taking your exam. Remember, it is just a review. It is just a review. Your first instinct is the first one that you got to go and select. And whatever you do, you know, don't get hung up. Don't get hung up. And don't let little details like having a small space throw you, or that people were walking in and out. You shouldn't be paying attention to any of that. You should be looking right at that exam. My advice anyway. So if this video helped you, I hope you'll share it, like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.